Hi, everybody. This is Tina Catola and a slightly fluish Sarah Kotz. And today we are talking about the 3 stages of Libra. And if you're just joining us and you don't know anything about third stage astrology is based on an understanding and a discovery that every sign has 3 stages of development, and each stage of development lasts for many lifetimes and is a very, very different personality type than the stage before it. And as we grow and develop through these stages, we're affected by what we've gone through before. So it's really important to understand all the stages, because if you're in one of the later stages, this past experience that you've been through has a strong effect on what you're experiencing right now. And all of the stages have their own perspective on life. So what's actually interesting is that our most compatible relationships tend to be with people of the same stage as us, not a particular sign that we are compatible or not compatible with. That's basically about selling books. So to understand these stages, we should get going on what Libra's about. And Libra has a specific purpose, that each sign has its own purpose. And everybody expresses this purpose in their own way. But Libra's purpose is to teach about right relationship. And so in order to be able to teach people about what relationship is really all about and what our right and correct relationship to each other and to the world is, first they have to learn and express what relationship is about. So in first stage Libra, the experience for a series of lifetimes is very simple, very positive, and it has to do with growing up in a really simple environment and either literally or figuratively marrying the boy or the girl next door, who's very easy to get along with, very naturally compatible. So the experience in third stage Libra is about basic, simple, wedded bliss. And you don't have to get legally married in order to be in a positive, productive partnership. That's optional. But most first stage Libras generally do tend to marry their partner. It's because they're not people who really concern themselves with making waves. So they live in the society that they're part of, and their whole experience is about this amazing partner. Now, I actually knew a first stage Libra, and the interesting story about this woman is that both she and her husband both were from completely different countries. And when they met, they both left their country of origin and went on a vacation to a third country, both with the intention and the knowledge that when they went to that country, they would meet their partner. They were going to meet their marriage partner in that country. And sure enough, they did. And this is very typical of what happens with first stage Libra. I lived in a very small town, and there was a story in the newspaper about this couple that had been together for 50 years. And when he was 12 years old, he used to go across the street and babysit the little 2 or 3-year-old girl across the street. And he told her parents, when we grow up, I'm going to marry her.
So cute.
It really is adorable. So that's first stage Libras. They're totally adorable. And they usually don't become famous, but they're almost like this anomaly in today's society, in a funny kind of way. But they do have this instinct for the right person. And as you go through several lifetimes of being in a harmonious partnership, you really learn how to compromise with somebody else, how to understand another person, what makes a relationship work and be really, truly happy. And so after 3 or 4 lifetimes, you've really got that under your belt. But because you always had that other person to rely on, what you don't develop throughout first stage Libra is you don't develop as strong a sense of self or independence or strength as an individual or personal identity as most other people. So by the end of first stage Libra, there's a restlessness, and there's this feeling or this need to go somewhere else, be somewhere else, become more of a self. And so Libras start to change their relationship pattern as they move towards second stage, so that instead of having this unerring instinct for another person that they're completely compatible with, now they want to share what they know, and they want to develop their own strength and independence. And so therefore they start being attracted to a different type of personality. So the type of personality that a person in second stage Libra, as they're moving into second stage, they're more inclined to be attracted to the metaphoric or literal tall, dark, handsome, troubled stranger. And so it's this feeling that this person has a lot of unhappiness and stress in their lives, and they don't really know how to be in a relationship, and they're not really all that happy. And I can teach them how to be in a relationship. I can help them be happier. And in exchange, because they seem, to the innocent first stage Libra, a more troubled person has more complex reactions in life. And so it seems to a first stage Libra like this person has more self-knowledge. This person has more of a sense of their own identity. A lot of times it's actually tough guy posturing or tough girl posturing, because they're in a defensive situation in life, and it's not really such a degree of self-knowledge as first stage Libra or thinks that it is. But at any rate, as the person enters into second stage, they now will choose a difficult partner, and they will they usually end up settling reasonably early when they're in early second stage, and struggling with this difficult person and spending a long time, many years, several decades, getting through to the person, and they manage to achieve it. So an early second stage Libra, and I have a friend who went into early second stage Libra, and who grew up in a family where both parents had Sun in the seventh house, which in astrology is an understanding that they're extremely relationship oriented. So both parents were really in love with each other, and they had this wonderful, perfect relationship, which is usually the model first stage Libra people have, good model for relationship as they're growing up, and they go and replicate that. But because this person was at the end of first stage Libra, she chose a person who had a terrible childhood and was really challenging and really difficult. And she has finally gotten through to that person after a long, long time, made it work. And that's what happens in second stage Libra. But the thing is, you help that other person, and it feels good. And they tell you, they really appreciate you eventually. And they tell you they couldn't have done it without you in either exactly those words, or they show you in other ways. They don't have to say it. But what the second stage Libra did not get is they did not get any sense of their own strength or their own development. That sense of self didn't rub off that they were kind of hoping it would. The exchange didn't work the other way. And in fact, because they had to spend so much time adjusting to this other person's difficult behaviors and compromising more, they're losing more of themselves slowly. So early second stage Libra goes, well, yeah, that wasn't so great, that part of it, but oh well. So next lifetime, as they continue through second stage Libra, because we do spend 3 or 4 lifetimes in each stage, they will, and human development always keeps progressing. It wants to move forward. So of course, they're going to choose a more difficult person because you want more of a challenge. So they choose a more difficult person, struggle more, and in a much more painful, challenging situation, eventually get through to that person. So after a while, by about lifetime 3 or lifetime 4 in second stage Libra, they are choosing people who are so difficult that they're impossible to be with. Yeah. So now we're really stuck in these impossible situations and terrible struggles in relationship. And there's a cynicism that often occurs at the end of second stage Libra. And some people are still banging their head against a wall to make these really difficult relationships work. And some people have started to just get cynical about the concept of relationships altogether. And some people by the end of second stage Libra, they're pretty, this is not all Libras, but there's a definite type or category of late second stage Libra. They're pretty disillusioned with monogamy and partnership in general. They often can be more promiscuous, or if they become more conscious as they're going through second, third stage Libra, that can express as a constructive form of polyamory. But it could also, while they're in late second stage Libra, express as a not so constructive form of sneaking around and cheating a lot and being restless. Yeah. Because they're still relationship oriented, but they've got a chip on their shoulder now because they've been with so many crappy people. They've been mistreated. They can sometimes, and this is again only a certain type of second stage Libra, late second stage Libra team to fall into 2 categories. One has become sort of disillusioned and has difficulty sticking to one person, because as soon as they see that there's difficult relationship going on here, then they become ambivalent about whether they want to stay with that person. They may cheat on them. They may jump from partner to partner. They're trying to feel good about themselves by getting a lot of attention from their romantic partners or romantic possibilities. And then there's the other type of second stage Libra is not reacting that way. They're still inclined to really choose one partner and really want one true love, but they keep on getting so hurt and disillusioned, and They keep on struggling with difficult partnerships. The other thing that will happen with an older soul at the end of second stage Libra is they start experiencing a lot of unfair situations all around them in their lives. It's very common to have real wrongs that happen, say in the workplace, where they're really treated unfairly, and they may have to take legal action. They're getting into conflicts with people who are mistreating them and mistreating others. And it's the beginning stirrings of a social conscience. Because once a person goes into second, third stage Libra, and the second, third stage transition is the transition between second stage. This is for all signs. And in second stage, things just slowly get worse until the person really wants to become conscious. In second, third stage, we're moving from second stage to third stage. You spend several lifetimes in each stage. And in second, third stage, you're spending about 1 to 4 decades moving from second stage to third stage. Seems like a long process. In all the signs, it often feels impossible, but you have to go forward. You have no choice. You want things to be different, and they will be, even though it seems impossible and so confusing sometimes. So for everybody in this transition between second stage and third stage, there are several riddles that need to be resolved. And for Libra, one riddle is this need to develop self. And so that's where that cynical pushing relationships away tendency can often occur in second, third stage. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't believe in relationships. I don't believe in love. Is a common feeling that second, third stage Libras have, even though they still often get into relationships. But it's so important to get your own strength back, know who you are, develop your almost a fighter quality, because anger is an important thing for Libra. They need to be angry about the things that have been unfair and have been unjust. It's not misusing that anger, even though that rage for some Libras can sometimes feel really, really intense, but it's about channeling it towards what really needs to change in the world, because a third stage Libra is about right relationship on a larger social scale. So at some point in second, third stage Libra, the Libras will discover their mission. And their mission may be very socially oriented. I mean, I think of third stage Libras that always automatically come to mind for me are Gandhi. He was really very much in third stage Libra, but very political. And he's a perfect example of how Libra works. Libra in second stage is trying to make a relationship work. So we still have that Libran tendency to try and keep pushing those scales and get them to balance, because the scales are the symbol for Libra. So third stage Libra Gandhi was saying, you're all going to get along. I'm going to make you all get along in a passive aggressive way by not eating. That's very Libra. But it's also really amazing. What he did was phenomenal. And this is for all the signs. When we get into third stage, there's a tremendous, powerful form of expression that's deeply meaningful and does a lot of positive things in the world. Whether they become famous for it or not, they have a lasting impact that's quite spiritually significant. So another third stage Libra that I think of is John Lennon. So that's another peace-oriented person. But Linda McCartney was also a third stage Libra, and she was not about our relationship with other people. She was about our relationship to animals. And that is another form of right relationship. How do we treat animals? What I'm trying to say is third stage Libras will have some kind of mission that has to do with how we relate to others, to the world in some way, something to do with taking a just approach, doing things in a correct, fair, honorable, just way in society. That's what we're heading towards. And second, third stage Libra, not everybody has this sense of their higher mission, but they do have this need to resurrect themselves. They also have the need to break the old negative relationship pattern. And the good news is that Libra can break their negative relationship pattern faster than any other sign can. But in order to do that, you need to keep track of your automatic impulses.
How come they can break it faster than any other sign? Like what is it about that sign that?
Well, that's an excellent question, actually. And it's because that drive for partnership is at the core of the sign of Libra. So all they need to do is rewire their focus. And they did it so quickly when they moved from first to second stage. So they have the experience of having changed their template of what it is they're attracted to. So during first stage, they were naturally attracted to a naturally compatible person. When they went into second stage, they suddenly change their attraction to the troubled person, to the difficult person, and they change it overnight. So because they have this subconscious memory of having changed it overnight, they can access that again as soon as
Wow.
they, for all of us, when we go from second stage to third stage, it's like we have to rewire subconscious tendencies. And the subconscious tendency in second stage Libra is, I'm going to help this other person. I'm going to teach this other person. I'm going to help them be in a good relationship. And then again, the subconscious thinks, and they'll get a reward at the end, which is the happy partnership and the person who says, I'm a good partner. So the one important way to rewire that, first of all, is to stop looking for that acknowledgement from another person. It's to sit down and say, I'm an incredible partner. I'm an incredible mate. And I know that I'm wonderful now. I don't need someone else to tell me that I'm good at this or that I have value. I know I have it now.
Mhm.
The other thing is to stop trying to help somebody else. You're going to, Libra, as they go through their change from second to third stage, they're going to still help the world, but they're going to help the world rather than one small individual. So this drive to assist and to help and to make a difference, first it needs to be recognized. Because one important rule about any love relationship is that when we fall in love, it's always from the subconscious level. This is why no matter how much you may meet somebody and you tell yourself and all your friends and family tell yourself, this is a wonderful person, look, they've got all these traits that are perfect for you, you feel nothing for them. There's no chemistry. And that's because your subconscious is not engaged in the process. And our subconscious is, at least 90% of us. So you're not going to be very motivated to be around just because it's a good idea to be around somebody. It won't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to become conscious of what that subconscious tendency is and redirect it is how we all will change our relationship patterns. But a Libra can do it really quickly. So whenever they almost have to break the old pattern by recognizing it as they're becoming attracted to somebody who they can see is just another one of the same old, same old. So if a Libra is at a party and they see this really attractive person and they go towards them, they start talking to them, and they start getting little clues that this person is bad at relating, is troubled in some way, seems unhappy in some way, and you start feeling your heart go out to them, start feeling like, oh, I can help this person. That's the time to say, uh-oh, and say, no, I'm not doing this. And instead to be creating the image or the feeling of being with a wonderful, happy, really compatible person. Because what will happen is that at a certain point in second, third stage Libra, or even once the person fully enters third stage, somewhere in that framework, they're going to attract a really compatible, positive person. And if they can, at a subconscious level, they also remember having been with that wonderful, compatible partner before. And they will often attract the same soul that they were with in first stage. And we usually have been with more than one. So it's easy to find somebody else who's at the same level of development as we are once again, who can be our third stage partner. So it's really about knowing you deserve it because you're already an amazing partner, watching yourself get drawn to something that is not, that you can sense and know immediately is not healthy, and break that pattern by saying no to it right in that moment. It deflates the balloon, and then that charge of attraction and desire seems to just dissipate. Because for all of us in second, third stage, it's really important to kind of watch our daily habits and slowly rework our responses. And the subconscious has a lot of inertia. And the definition of inertia is an object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object in rest tends to stay in rest. So as we keep on sending the same message gently and steadily to the subconscious, it finally stops moving in a certain direction and begins to utilize that inertia to go in the other direction. And it appears that there's been a sudden change because our outside circumstances suddenly change. When we were working and working and working, getting nowhere, suddenly it pops. So the person changes their relationship pattern. And then what's very common is for a person also to, while they're in second, third stage, because they have such incredibly good relationship karma, even if they were a naughty boy or girl at the end of second stage and weren't so nice to people, and because they can get angry and cynical and be kind of mean, and not, some of them aren't super faithful, but not all, but some aren't. And even if they were that's a very minor negative karmic debt compared to all the massive positive karma the person's built up in all the lifetimes of helping a partner. Because partners they did help in early second stage really grew and learned from that and were able to take it on into future lifetimes. So there's an enormous foundation they provided for other people. So because they provided a foundation for someone else, they now karmically deserve that for themselves. So many second, third stage Libras will attract a partner who says, look, I know that you need to find out who you are. I'm going to provide a wonderful environment for you. It's not uncommon for them to attract a partner that's going to be the primary breadwinner and give them a chance to discover who they are, help them have a protected environment in which they can resurrect their own identity, because that's extremely important.
What about first to third stage?
Yeah, so let me just go into third stage and then I will go into first to third stage, because yes, people can do that jump in any sign. But once a person's fully into third stage, they have this really harmonious partner again. They've got their person that really backs them up and that, you know, they can celebrate life with, and they have a mission and they're very much engaged in getting out there and making some kind of really positive change in the world. I mean, it's pretty simple, really, just like first stage Libra, but it's also, you know, pretty admirable and amazing. So for every sign, there is what I call the crossroads. And that happens at the end of first stage. The person has an opportunity to go from the first to the third stage of Libra. They don't have to go through second stage, because second stage, it kind of sucks. It sucks more for some signs than for others, but it's a lot more pleasant to go straight to third stage. However, we do not develop the depth that we would develop it through going through second stage, or the sense of compassion for people who suffer. So it's not a mistake if someone doesn't make the transition between first and third stage. It's just a more pleasant experience. Older souls tend to do first to third because they've already deepened themselves. So the way to get into third stage at the end of first, now it's interesting, for everybody, the crossroads always opens in all the signs. So at the end of first stage Libra, there is actually, to a greater or lesser extent, some understanding of what they want to do in the world and what has meaning to them in life, what they want to stand up for and what they want to change. So they can make a leap forward into, well, I do understand how to be in a good relationship. What I want to do now is I want to help people relate better on a much larger scale. And it's challenging because they don't have a strong sense of their own identity. So this is why they're more likely to say, I just want to choose one person and I'll teach that one person how to be happy in a relationship. It's a lot more daunting to think, how do I go out there in that big world with the things I care about and things I know? And so it's also, in order to do that, it's about being able to recognize that they don't have the same kind of buildup of tremendously positive karma that they have at the end of second stage, because they really help difficult people, but they still have been beneficial to people around them. They did benefit their partners during first stage, so they can still kind of draw on getting help. They need help from their partner to get a sense of strength and get a sense of their own identity in order to go forward. And some people can do a first third stage transition as a couple. Because another thing I didn't mention yet about what happens at the end of first stage Libra is that many people who go through first stage Libra do it with another Libra, which makes perfect sense. Because if you're really focused on a positive partnership being the foundation of your life, being your whole existence, well, who is going to do that with you more readily than another Libra? And I remember being years ago doing a lecture, and at the end of the lecture, these two women came up to me and they asked me, do you have any idea how we might have known each other in previous lifetimes? And so I asked them what their signs were. And these two women, one was extremely fair, pale complexion, the other one was jet black, but they looked identical. It was bizarre because they had very similar faces, they had very similar body types. So they both said they were Libras, and I said, well, it was so immediately obvious. Well, you two were married. For lifetimes, you were married to each other. They were really good friends in this lifetime. And they looked at each other and went, oh, of course. You know, it was obvious when I pointed it out.
Yeah. Cool.
So at any rate, you know, Libras have traveled together. So if two Libras together could potentially make the first third stage transition. And a sign that they're heading towards that is this desire to do something in the world, maybe a sense of restlessness. Like, yeah, we have a wonderful relationship, but maybe we're starting to feel attracted to other people. because we're bored. we need more of a challenge. So that may be the sign that it's time to go out and decide what is it you want to change in the world, what is it you want to make better. And sometimes Libras who are together in first stage, sometimes one is ready to go to second stage or ready to go into the crossroads before the other one is. So some Librans, especially as they get together again in third stage or they get together in second, third stage, there's a subconscious memory of either my partner left me or I left my partner. So there's either the fear that they're going to lose this person's going to leave me again, or the guilt that I left that person and I let them down. And so those things need to be faced and dealt with and healed. And it's usually a pretty easy process when you're in second, third, or third stage. But sometimes at the end, a person does come to the end of first stage before their partner does. And so sometimes they can, it can be one of those situations of, why did he or she leave me? We had such a perfect life. We had such a perfect marriage. And why did they run off with the crazy person? Well, it's because they were going into second stage Libra. But a person who needs to go towards third stage or even do the first third stage transition in Libra may still be outgrowing their relationship if their partner's still in first stage and just isn't interested in the greater world. They may just grow apart. And if they do, what will happen is that as a person moves towards third stage, they're going to, because they're already subconsciously inclined to attract a compatible partner, they will attract a compatible partner who either supports their mission or who is also engaged in it themselves. And other signs that will be very socially active in third stage are Taurus, Cancer. So those are common signs that, and sometimes a Gemini could be a good person because they're out there doing something in the world in third stage. It's not as socially driven as those other signs, Taurus, Cancer, and Libra, but it can still be compatible because they have a message. So those are the signs that are more likely to be a partner to a crossroading first third stage Libra. Yeah, so, and one thing I want to say is that Libra is not just only about relationships. I mean, Libra people will have other things that are important in their lives. But the deeper soul mission, the deeper soul purpose throughout first and second stage is about their intimate relationships. So I think that covers the 3 stages of Libra.